When we think of a world heading toward a global war, the first question that usually comes to mind is, where could one take refuge? It's not simply about having the largest army or the most advanced technology. In fact, the most militarily powerful countries are often the first to be in the line of fire. Security in times of war is measured by different factors: political neutrality, geographical remoteness, self-sufficiency in resources, social stability, and civil defense capacity. If we combine all these elements, a list emerges of nations that seem designed to withstand the storm, places that could offer peace even when the whole world is burning. One of the most fascinating examples is Iceland. This volcanic island lost in the middle of the North Atlantic seems to live in a parallel reality. It has no standing army, which surprises many, but it is a member of NATO, so in the event of conflict it benefits from US military protection. What's most interesting, however, is its geography. It's so isolated that it is highly unlikely anyone would consider it a strategic target. In peacetime, Iceland is already considered one of the happiest and most organized countries in the world. In wartime, that same cohesion among its people would be its greatest shield. From Iceland we move to a classic, Switzerland. Swiss neutrality is famous, and not by accident. Since the Congress of Vienna in 1815, this small alpine country has cultivated the image of a mediator. Neither of the two world wars touched it directly, and during the Cold War it became the seat of international institutions. What few know, however, is that Switzerland is literally a bunker country. The law requires every residential building to have access to shelters, and there are more bunker spaces than citizens. In other words, in the event of nuclear bombardment, the entire population would have somewhere to hide. Add to this the Alps, mountains that function as natural walls impossible to conquer. On the other side of the planet, New Zealand is considered by many analysts as the ultimate refuge. During the pandemic, even billionaires bought land there, convinced that its isolation makes it the ideal place to survive a global collapse. It is far from geopolitical hotspots, has abundant freshwater, a favorable climate, and agricultural production sufficient to sustain its population. Moreover, its foreign policy avoids conflicts and maintains friendly relations with most countries. In the event of a nuclear war, New Zealand would probably be one of the last places to be affected. Ireland also appears on this security map. Since the mid-20th century it has maintained a strict policy of neutrality. It is not a NATO member, which reduces its military commitments. Located on the western edge of Europe, it is relatively removed from continental conflicts. Its modern economy, based on services and technology, and its cohesive society make it resilient to international crises. Often, Ireland has played a diplomatic role in external conflicts, reinforcing its image as a place that prefers to build bridges rather than trenches. Another European country worth mentioning is Austria. Its neutrality has been enshrined in its constitution since 1955, after the withdrawal of Allied troops that had occupied its territory following World War II. Since then, it has remained outside major military blocs. In addition, Vienna is home to international organizations such as the International Atomic Energy Agency, which reinforces its profile as a safe territory amid global tensions. Its population enjoys a very high quality of life, and the state maintains civil defense protocols inherited from the Cold War. In Asia we find a tiny but incredibly prepared country, Singapore. Although it lies in the middle of a geopolitically contested region, its defense model is so sophisticated that it deserves attention. Singapore invests in military technology, maintains mandatory military service, and at the same time has developed urban infrastructure ready for emergencies. Its pragmatic diplomacy allows it to maintain stable relations with rival powers, and its role as a financial hub makes it a de facto protected territory. No global power wants to see Singapore destroyed, because the collapse of world trade would be immediate. A very different case is Bhutan, hidden in the Himalayas. This small Buddhist kingdom has chosen a radically different path. Instead of prioritizing aggressive economic growth, it measures its development through the Gross National Happiness Index. Its geographical isolation makes it hard to access, naturally protected by gigantic mountains. Its low international profile means that in a global conflict it would hardly be a target. The absence of military ambitions and its peaceful foreign policy make it one of the safest havens. If we talk about vast territory and abundant resources, Canada must be mentioned. This giant of the Northern Hemisphere has something unique: space in abundance. With one of the lowest population densities in the world and almost infinite reserves of freshwater, forests, and minerals, the country would have the capacity to sustain itself even in the event of world war. Moreover, it is a close ally of the United States, which implies enormous military protection. However, being far from the main conflict zones of Europe, Africa, or Asia, its territory is less likely to become a battlefield. Like Canada, Australia offers a mix of isolation and abundance. Surrounded by oceans, it is far from the direct roots of a potential global conflict. Its robust economy, natural resources, and varied climate would give it room to survive an international blockade scenario. Historically, Australia has been a Western ally, but its geographic distance keeps it relatively protected. Like New Zealand, many analysts believe Australia would be one of the last safe bastions in a world at war. In Northern Europe, Norway stands out not only for its mountainous landscape and tradition of political stability, but also for its strategic preparation. The country stores huge reserves of gas and oil, but also food, and it is famous for the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, built in the Arctic to protect biodiversity in case of catastrophe. Although it is a NATO member, its peaceful political culture and capacity for self-sufficiency make it an attractive refuge. Sweden also deserves a place on the list. Although it has recently abandoned its traditional neutrality to integrate more closely with the West, it remains a country that avoids direct military conflicts. Its infrastructure is prepared for emergencies, and during the Cold War it even designed detailed civil defense plans that included shelters and survival protocols. Swedish society, with high levels of education and organization, is a vital resource in times of crisis. Denmark, smaller in size, shares several of these characteristics. Its location in Northern Europe gives it strategic access to the Baltic, but also keeps it in a relatively stable region. Its NATO membership provides it with a military umbrella, while its advanced economy and social cohesion make it a country capable of rapid response in emergencies. Although it may sound paradoxical, Japan is also one of the countries best prepared for a war scenario. It is located in a region with military tensions: China, North Korea, Russia, but its culture of disaster preparedness is so strong that its population is trained to act with discipline in extreme situations. Japan has thousands of shelters, highly advanced evacuation protocols, and a military alliance with the United States that makes it a key piece of security in Asia. Finally, in Latin America, Costa Rica appears as a unique example. Since 1949 it abolished its army, betting on a model of neutrality and diplomacy. Historically, it has been a mediator in regional conflicts and a refuge of stability in Central America, a region marked by wars and dictatorship in the 20th century. Its commitment to education, biodiversity, and peace has made it a global symbol of peaceful resistance. Although it lacks conventional military defense, its low international profile keeps it off the radar of major powers. These 15 countries are not immune to the indirect effects of a global war, such as economic crises or massive migratory movements, but they share characteristics that make them safer than most. Some, like Switzerland or Iceland, benefit from isolation and neutrality. Others, like Norway or Singapore, combine military and civil preparedness with smart diplomacy, and some, like Costa Rica or Bhutan, rely on their low profile and the power of neutrality. In an unstable world, they represent small islands of calm in the middle of the storm. Forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos.